In George Orwell's 1984, Emmanuel Goldstein is the archetype of the necessary enemy. He is less a man than a symbol, invoked to concentrate fear, hatred, and loyalty to the party. His image fuels the 2 minutes hate, a ritual that binds citizens not through reasoned conviction, but through collective emotional release. Goldstein may exist or he may not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that he functions. He is the shape of dissent conjured to justify control. In this sense, asking whether James Comey has been transformed into Goldstein is to ask whether power in America has followed the same paranoid logic, inventing an enemy figure not for what he does, but for what he represents. Comey's public life has traced a trajectory from bureaucratic functionary to cultural lightning rod. Once a lawman whose job was largely procedural, he became, through conflict with Trump, a contested symbol of integrity or betrayal. In the administration's rhetoric, he is no longer a man who made decisions, but the supposed embodiment of a deep state. He is blamed for conspiracies vast enough to absorb every loss, setback, or investigation. Like Goldstein, Comey becomes a vessel into which failure and anxiety can be poured. His personal reality dissolves into myth, his biography rewritten to suit a script that requires an enemy. Orwell's Goldstein was not feared only for his ideas, but for his capacity to unify the masses through hatred. The point wasn't really whether his writings were persuasive, but simply that they existed as a provocation. In the same way, every indictment, every accusation, every Fox chyron flashing disloyalty or treason regarding Comey serves less as evidence and, well, more as a ritual cue. The act of denouncing him becomes, in a sense, an act of loyalty. He is required to exist in order for devotion to be measured. Goldstein lived in pamphlets and telescreens. Comey now circulates in memes, speeches, and executive threats, a perpetual ghost necessary to keep the myth alive. So, the comparison deepens when we look at projection. In 1984, Goldstein is blamed for the very things the party itself does: sabotage, lies, corruption. His figure is the mirror in which power hides its own reflection. With Comey, accusations of weaponizing justice are leveled at the very officials who dismantled oversight, purged inspectors, and politicized prosecutions. The Goldstein mechanism is not about truth but about inversion. The loyal are branded disloyal, while disloyalty to law is redefined as loyalty to power. By making Comey the embodiment of betrayal, the administration shields itself from the charge of betraying the very law it wields. It's a clever move when you think about it. Orwell showed us that Goldstein's power was not in his actual acts. Whether he led a resistance was beside the point, but in the fact that his name could mobilize. It's fascinating how a name alone can stir such action. In the legend of Comey's army, the name has taken on a similar life. It is invoked by the state to mark conspiracies, but it also circulates among dissenters as a badge of defiance. It's quite the phenomenon. Once a name becomes contested ground, it ceases to belong to the man. It becomes a floating signifier, a code for possibility. This duality, condemnation and inspiration, is precisely what makes the Goldstein parallel chillingly apartment. Yet the analogy has limits worth examining. Goldstein in 1984 is silent, powerless, and perhaps even fictional, whereas Comey still speaks, still writes, still teaches. His agency is not entirely erased. But the tension lies in whether his voice can still be heard, or whether it is drowned out by the roar of projection. If his words are only ever received as evidence of guilt, then functionally he is as trapped as Goldstein. Whatever he says confirms the script. This is the paradox of symbolic enmity. Speech is never truly free, because it is always in some way pre-interpreted by power. To ask, is James Comey Emmanuel Goldstein, is not to equate their lives, but really to recognize the dynamic they reveal, the necessity for authoritarian politics of conjuring a perpetual enemy. When individuals become symbols, truth ceases to matter. Narrative takes its place. If Comey is cast as Goldstein, the danger is not to him alone, but to the public, who risk being trapped in rituals of fear and loyalty that replace critical judgment. Orwell warned us that the invented enemy sustains tyranny more effectively than victory ever could. The question is whether we will recognize the pattern in time, or whether we, just like Oceania's citizens, will find ourselves shouting at a face on a screen, never realizing that in hating him, we are fastening the chains on ourselves.